Hey guys, it's Mandy. You know I love Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, and one of the things I love the most is they're always doing new things. And I recently tried their new sports massage, and I've got to tell you, it's incredible. So you know I'm active and I'm always focused on wellness, and this is just one more thing that I am adding in to my routine because now I'm hooked. They use the Theragun, which of course is going to help increase blood flow to certain areas and muscles that might be sore or tired or need attention, but you also get to add on another upgrade. You know, whenever I was there, I chose to go ahead and do the cup gliding as well as the hot stones. They work really well with the Theragun, maybe like a triple threat. Definitely ask for it the next time you go in to Hand and Stone. Ask about the sports massage. You can book your appointment today online at handandstonetyler.com, or you can stop by and see them. They're located in South Tyler in the Cumberland Shopping Center.
Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast, hosted by Mandee Montana, a podcast that celebrates women, their stories, their struggles, and ability to overcome. Conversations that celebrate their gifts, their talents, and courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast, presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. With over 20 massage therapists and 6 estheticians, certified and trained in multiple protocols, you can get an affordable massage or facial located right here in the East Texas area. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in the Cumberland Shopping Center in Tyler or online at handandstonetyler.com. Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I'm Mandee Montana with a very special guest today, Lisa Pulliam.
You said it perfectly.
Okay. There are so many ways to introduce you. I mean, you're an author, you are a speaker, you're a coach, you're an incredible wife, mother, friend. I mean, there are lots of things that I could say, but how would you introduce yourself, Lisa?
Oh, all those things that you said already are so sweet and so true. I guess that's the first thing I would say. I love life. I love God. I love people. And I just love inspiring women to be all they were created to be. I am a wife. My husband, Chris, and I have been married. We just celebrated 33 years. We have 4 grown kids, grandbabies. We literally just had our 8th grandbaby a couple of weeks ago. Little PJ, Patrick Jr., my son, and his beautiful wife's little one. And so I love family. Family is very important to me, being mom, being Lulu, and just being present with them. Yeah.
I noticed all of those things about you the first time that we met, which was a total divine timing, divine appointment. A friend of mine invited me to come to something that I would not normally attend, which was a Women's Council of Realtors event, because I'm not a realtor. I am a real estate investor. My husband's a commercial realtor. So I could probably learn something from this. And I really admire our mutual friend, Carla Hutchinson, and she invited me. And so I said, you know what? My calendar is actually open that day. Wow, this never happens. Yeah. And it was the night before at like 7 p.m. And I was like, yes, I'll be there at 9 a.m. tomorrow. What a wonderful invitation. Thank you. I sat down at a table that I thought was going to be the back of the room. Turns out I was front and center with Lisa.
I remember that so well. The ladies were filing in, and I remember looking down and seeing you sitting there, and I was kind of getting my notes ready, and we were about to start. And you were just sitting there with this beautiful smile and your beautiful sparkling eyes. And I remember just saying, well, hi, I'm Lisa. And you said, I'm Mandee. And that was it. Mm-hmm. And I would love to give a shout out to Carla Hutchinson myself, because she's going to listen to this podcast, and she is the reason why we are sitting here today. Yeah. Love her dearly.
We were speaking off mic earlier. I wouldn't know Carla if it weren't for Kathy Williams-Bosley. Oh. Kathy owns Clothes Mentor. And she was doing some events at her store several years ago. Carla's been her good friend, a great customer. I believe it was when Carla was going through her battle with breast cancer was when we first connected. And Kathy is just a very encouraging person, and she likes to rally and create community around people that need it. Mm. And I was one of those people. I got pulled in and met Carla, and you know, we are not super close, but she's one of those wonderful friends that I pick up with right where we left off the last time. And you know, it's been amazing to watch her entrepreneurial journey as well in real estate. She's done amazing. So I'm glad we gave her a quick shout out, because we would not have met if it weren't for Carla.
Yes. I love how like-minded women are attracted to one another. It's like we attract that same energy, that same vibe, that same spirit. I like to say women inspiring women to rise, women who love to inspire other women and who are lifting one another up. Those are the kind of women I love hanging out with.
Same, which is part of the reason I wanted to have you on this podcast, because that's who I like to invite on the podcast, is women who want to encourage each other. I like to say that I'm a fan of collaboration, not competition. I think we can get better through collaborating. We can grow when we share ideas and when we lift each other up, instead of, pitting against each other or having a conflict of ideas. Conflict can be a good thing if it's done in a healthy way, but I think collaborating and sharing ideas and lifting each other up is just a much more productive use of time. And it can be creative and wonderful too. So when we first met, tell me what the topic was. I'm trying to remember, but my brain is failing me. Was it Thriving? Were we there? Was it a Thrive conference?
It's interesting because the word thrive has been such a part of my life this year. And it seems to be kind of foundational for everything that I'm doing right now for women. So yes, it was a Thrive theme, and it was all about just really unlocking the vibrant, bold, authentic, unique, quirky, amazing, awesome woman that is within, and just getting crystal clear on who we are. And that's one of the things I love to do for women. I feel like often we are looking outward at things or accomplishments or goals or striving or trying to hit this level in my company or hit this income level or having even like the perfect relationship. And we're striving out there. We're looking outward. As I'm talking to you, Mandee, my fingers are pointing outward because we are often looking to external circumstances to find our identity. And at that conference where I met you and at other retreats and women's events that I'm hosting throughout this year and beyond into 2025, what I'm passionate to do is to help women pause and go inward and look inside. Take time to look inward, because each and every woman has everything they need inside of them to be who they were created to be. And out of the being and the appreciation of a person's true authenticity, then the doing flows out of that. The doing flows from an inspired place versus a striving to try to be somebody, to just try to find that identity. And that's a big part of the story that you may remember I shared that day was my journey, my early journey as an entrepreneur.
Yes. And that's actually, I was hoping that you would share that today. That's kind of why I wanted to go back to how we met, because when I heard you tell your story that day, there were so many things that you shared that I identified with. We have kind of a little bit of a similar story in some ways. And so I really felt connected to you from your energy first. But then when you started telling your story, I was like, okay, this is somebody I really feel like I would like to keep in my life and stay in contact with. I feel like maybe we could learn and grow together. Would you share your story?
Yes, yes. So for the first 16 years of, my husband and I have been married 33 years. I was a stay-at-home mom for 16 years. My husband is in full-time ministry, and I sometimes reflect on that time of being a young mom, married, single income, pastor's family, not making a lot of money, trying to raise littles, and all of the financial strain that we had in that time. And if I had even wanted to go pursue some full-time career, we couldn't have afforded for me to put the kids in daycare. So it was just, I just stayed home. I loved being home. I was raised by a very, just a loving stay-at-home mom that was a wonderful homemaker. But when we moved to Tyler, which ironically was about 16 years ago, I was feeling that just inner desire, longing, like there's got to be something more. There's more to me. I love my kids. I love being a mom. I love being a wife. I love my church. I love the ministry. I love the PTA. I love all the volunteer things I was doing, but there was so much more inside of me. My mom's side of the family is Lebanese.
Okay.
And my great-grandfather came to this country as a 12-year-old boy in 1902 at the
Wow.
turn of the century. And his mom put him on a boat, and he saved everything she had and wanted him to not get swept into the Ottoman Empire and army, and said, you're going to go and do something with your life. At 12 years old, and there were some kind of distant family members that had already come to America through Ellis Island. So my family has one of those stories where there's the work ethic and the perseverance and the faith and the scary things that they had to navigate making a life in this country, and especially as a boy. And so because of that, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I stepped into the direct sales industry. My children were then, let's say they were 14 down to 4 years old. And my little one was getting into kindergarten, actually. So it was the next year. She was turning 5, and it was time for me. And I started in the direct sales industry. That was my entrepreneurial foot in the door. And I ran, and I had that grit, and I wanted to be successful, and I wanted to find myself, and I wanted to be somebody, and I wanted to make money, and I wanted to walk across the stage, and I just started setting all these big dreams and big goals. The rest of the family just kept sort of going to school and doing their thing, and I found myself over the next few years rising in leadership in that company, loving every minute of it, but finding myself being gone more and more from home. My children, my husband and I, spending less and less time together, and existing on, coffee meetups and fast food and running out the door and just being gone late. And it started to really take its toll. I remember I was speaking on stages at our big conferences and weekend trainings in Dallas, and probably appeared to be the shiny, successful, oh, she has made it kind of gal. But behind the scenes, my life was falling apart. My personal life, my health, my marriage was struggling. One of my teenagers was kind of in trouble. It was just not good. And yet there I was, looking so successful. And I hit a big old imaginary brick wall, and I came to a screeching halt one day. I took a big step back from everything I was doing. I was exhausted. I was burned out. I felt like a huge failure because, after all, I did what all the leaders told me to do, right? I went out and talked to everybody in 3-foot radius and built this huge team and had thousands of customers and consultants under me and was hitting higher ranks in the company. Wasn't I doing everything I was supposed to do to be successful and to be somebody? And yet, failing, and I was crying on the inside. And I took a big step back, and I started reevaluating my whole life. First of all, I cried for weeks.
You probably needed to.
I did.
Because you probably hadn't let yourself.
No.
Because the appearance of success was so important. I mean, I can relate to this a lot of times. As somebody who was an on-air personality for 20 years, there were days, not recently, but there were days early on in my career when I would be under the board crying about something that was going on in my personal life, get up, shake it off in 30 seconds, turn on the microphone, and, hey, it's Mandee Montana. Like a robot almost. But sometimes you're dealing with those things behind the scenes and inside. You mentioned it earlier. I feel like that's where we're headed, turning inward. But the outside looks really wonderful. So
Yeah.
How did you move forward?
I remember being on the phone with a business coach one day, and she said, Lisa, and I was crying and sobbing and telling her, I've been such a failure. I'm putting on this front. I look so happy and successful, but I'm miserable, and my marriage is struggling, and my kids are struggling. And she said, all right, I want you to take a deep breath. What is something you can do to just sort of unplug from all this craziness and take some time for you and just find your Find your soul again. Find your inner inspiration. And I said, well, I have this book. I had started writing my story years before, just a scribbledy rough draft in a 3-ring binder. And I had always wanted to write more and spend more time writing. I loved journaling, and it had always been this very kind of therapeutic thing for me, but I had set it down for 7 years. She said, I'd love to finish this book. She said, can you just excuse yourself from most all of these other things you've been doing for a while and just stay home and do that? So I did. I gave myself permission. I emailed my entire team. I said, you will not be seeing me I said, I love you all dearly. I'm cheering you on from a distance. You won't be seeing me at meetings. I won't be speaking on conference calls. I'm taking a break for a while from a lot of the business responsibilities. I'm passing off some of my team responsibilities to some of my leaders that are in place. And I need to unplug for a while. I've got to take care of me again and my family and my marriage, my health. And I started writing and taking care of all these things behind the scenes and just really doing a ton of introspection. You know, Mandee, I love words that start with I-N. Okay, so think about it. Introspection, internal, inner work, inspired. You know, the word inspired means in spirit. It means you're connecting to your inner soul, your inner self, and then you're flowing from that place. I love the word intention. I've been doing a lot of training lately with the ladies in my coaching community. In fact, I'm going to have a session on goals versus intentions. Goals are very external. They're basically other people's expectations for you. But your intentions is where do you feel yourself being led to in your life? Who do you want to be? Not as much what do you want to do, what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? Who are you? And that was the massive shift. That was the time in my life, as hard as it was, that was what I needed to go through that, Mandee, so that I could take a huge step back and look at myself, not in a self-critical way or a I'm such a failure way, which I did have a lot of that, which I had to release, but a way that just began to ask, who am I? I mean, at the end of this life, hey, if I made it to the top of the mountain of success and got to the highest level on my company and reached that multi-million-dollar jacket mark and won all the trips, but got there alone, didn't have my health, had messed up kids because I was avoiding my responsibility at home, would it be worth it? And I had to look square in the mirror and ask myself that question. And the answer was absolutely not. No amount of money, no amount of success is ever worth that. So I had to answer that question as who am I and who do I want to be? And that was a huge shift in my inner world, my mindset, my heart, my soul, my intentions, and how I wanted to move forward in being an entrepreneur. It didn't mean I had to stop being an entrepreneur. It just meant I had to shift my values of what was most important.
And prioritize your time a little bit
Yep.
differently. So writing your
Totally.
story, connecting inward, and
Yes.
telling your story was what allowed you to process all of this?
Absolutely. Yes.
If you need to come back to who you are, maybe start by telling your own story.
Absolutely. And just grabbing a blank journal. It can be a spiral notebook from Walmart or it might be a fancy journal, but I really encourage and invite women to write daily and answer questions like, who am I? What is most important to me? What am I doing right now in my life that is draining my energy? Or who am I spending time with right now that are draining me? What are the things that I do that light my soul? I love that phrase. I ask that to women often. What lights your soul right now? It might be getting up in the morning, taking a walk and watching two blue herons fly across the little lake in back of my house, which, by the way, is one of the things that lights my soul. When I see those blue herons, I get so excited, and I'm reminded, wow, it's not an amount of money. It's noticing the beauty, the simple things in life. It's noticing all the blessings around us. So just journaling, yes, is a great way to start pulling out those inner, what inspires you? What do you love about life? Who do you want to be? Types of questions. And then letting go of some of those things that are simply not serving you.
I think it can be difficult sometimes to look within if you haven't in a while.
Yeah.
I noticed my body language just like, I kind of like curled in on myself whenever I said that. But it's true. And I think various times in my life, it's been harder to look within than others. You know, whenever I'm feeding my soul, when I'm noticing things that I'm grateful for on a regular basis, when I'm nurturing my relationships, when I'm, you know, spiritually connected, it's easier to look within. But when we get on that rat race, hamster wheel, going through the motions, chasing success, it's easy to lose sight of those simple things that need our attention. And I think a lot of women relate, Lisa. But I think that initial moment of awareness of, I'm not happy where I am right now.
Yes.
And asking those questions that you just mentioned, what's draining my energy? Who is draining my energy?
Yes.
Where am I maybe giving too much of my time? And then what can I do to find that fulfillment? What does light my soul on fire? Like those simple things, I think are it's hard to get people to stop and have that moment though. So I guess I'm reiterating what you're saying because I want to invite whoever's listening, if this is where you're at right now, to pause for just a minute, whether you pause the podcast or you keep listening and you grab the journal, like take a minute and take care of yourself because you're worth it. And who knows what can happen next? Because as Lisa continues telling her story, you're going to see that she has overcome these obstacles and she is living her best entrepreneurial life. And she is doing it from a place of intention and from a drive and a longing that does light her soul on fire. And it's not chasing outward success. You write the book and then you kind of embark on a new journey with the book, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
The book I ended up entitling Toes in the Sand, My Journey from Domestic Engineer to Entrepreneur. And I entitled it Toes in the Sand because, number one, who doesn't adore and love the beach? And family vacations to the beach in South Texas, where a lot of our family lived, was such a part of my childhood and growing up. And when I'm standing at the ocean, at the water's edge, and I wonder if you, who is listening, has experienced this before, this awe-inspiring moment where you're standing there, looking way as far to the east and the west that you can look, and all you see is water, and all you hear are waves. That feeling of, wow, I'm just this tiny little person on this massive, beautiful planet called Earth. And yet, I was created by a God who loves me and has a plan for my life. I've got a purpose here. He created all of this. He created me. Wow, there must be a reason for that. You can have that awe-inspired moment any place. I love it in the mountains. I love sitting on my back deck. I love looking for my blue herons that fly across our little lake. I named the book Toes in the Sand to remind myself that to pause. Toes in the sand means pausing and noticing. Mm-hmm. Pausing and giving ourselves, our souls, our bodies, our emotions time to reflect. What you just said, you put it so beautifully, Mandee.
Oh, thank you.
Time to be still. And I began being invited to speak at different women's groups, entrepreneurial groups. I was taking my book, selling it for $10 at the back of the room, and speaking for free anywhere that would have me. And just inspiring women to take time to step out of the rat race and find who you are first and what's important to you. And that began to open doors for lots more of those type of speaking opportunities. In the meanwhile, I went to a branding workshop for entrepreneurial women, and an idea dropped one day, and that was, why don't you host women's retreats, Lisa, on beaches around the world and call them Toes in the Sand Women's Retreats?
For branding.
Perfect. For branding.
And how fun.
How fun. What woman doesn't? I love the beach. And I began doing that. I literally stood up in the middle of this whole room of women and said, I just had an idea that dropped today, and that is to start hosting women's retreats. I literally had 3 women run up to me and say, I want to come. I need to unplug from the busyness of my life so that I can rest, so that I can listen. I can hear, what is my greater calling? What is my soul calling me to do? What are those things I need to let go of and those things I need to do more of? And that was where the Toes in the Sand Women's Retreat was born. I just celebrated number 12.
Really?
The 12th Toes in
cool.
the Sand Retreat this past April. We met on Crystal Beach. We've gone to Gulf Shores, Alabama several times. We've gone to the Texas coast and just had amazing transformational experiences with women.
I love that because you can find that in community in a way that you won't find that when you're tending to your family.
So true.
Right? I have a friend that came on, Stephanie Taylor, and she and I both love to travel, and we were talking about when she calls travel and trips 2 different things. When she is on a trip with her family where she's being mom and she's tending to everyone and she's got all the things, that doesn't feel like travel to her. That doesn't feel like a vacation. That's a trip.
I love that.
But when she gets to go with her husband and friends and escape and just be herself and be an adult and let the family take care of themselves somewhere else, that's a vacation. That's travel. And I thought it was such a fun concept. And I was like, oh, that's so true. But that's kind of what you're talking about, too. It's a different intention for the trip. Going to the beach can have a lot of different intentions. But when you're hosting those retreats, it's an intentional pause.
Yes.
Time for reflection and community and growth.
Yes.
I love that.
Beautiful journey. And a gal named Julie that has been at several of the last retreats. And by the way, I have ladies that come every time. And then I'll have first timers. We're not cliquey. And I'll tell you a little bit about Julie, but what I was going to say, Mandee, that is something that as my sister Kristen has partnered with me in the last couple of years, we are co-hosting these retreats together, and we have a amazing team of women now that have been with us for a while. We call them our dream team because, as you know, anything that we want to do in an excellent way, we have to have a team around us. And they have just come on board and served in different ways. But we kick off each retreat now talking about we are a place of compassionate curiosity.
Oh, I love that.
That is our thing. We tell ladies, you are in a no judgment zone. We are coming from different faiths, different backgrounds, different upbringings, different, as we're recording this, it's prior to the election, different political beliefs. It's okay. We are here to ask questions and be genuinely curious and to say, tell me more about that. That's interesting. Tell me about your story, or tell me why you believe that. And it has created such a culture of true compassion and empathy, curious questions, listening, and learning how to love other people that are very different from you. And yet, inevitably, finding that we're all the same at that deeper level. We all every human longs to be loved and known and heard and valued and respected. And if a woman attends and that is the foundation of what they leave with, if they can leave our retreat and say, I felt heard, I felt seen, I met a new best friend, I met someone that's gone through a really hard divorce, kind of similar to mine, or I met a woman that has struggled with a grown child, a prodigal child, and we had some things in common, and we found this beautiful common ground. And now she's a new best friend. She's a new sister. We call each other sisters.
Yeah.
Then we have achieved the foundation of what we hope to achieve is creating that kind of space. Have a lot of transformational breakthroughs because of the work that my sister Kristen does. She is a certified facilitator in a beautiful, powerful, very meditative mindset work that helps create new neural pathways in the brain. And I know there are a variety of amazing therapeutic type techniques available now, and they are helping change the world because it's giving women tools to release the hurt of maybe a toxic relationship of their past, release the unworthiness or shame that maybe they've been carrying for years, and then begin to embrace who they really are, seeing their beauty, creating new empowered beliefs, creating new mindsets that allow them to propel forward into taking inspired action to their dreams, their goals. I was going to mention Julie, when she started working with us a couple of years ago and came to a retreat, she was grieving the loss of her father. She had a couple of grown daughters, beautiful daughters, that had some physical struggles and not disabilities, but just situations, medical situations that they were navigating, very scary things with grown young adult children. And she was all consumed by all of that. And she literally said, when I first came to my first retreat, I remember thinking, I don't even know who I am. I am so lost in the caring for others, in handling my own grief and trying to be strong for my family. I've lost myself. And 2 years later, she is on our dream team. She said, I know who I am. And
I love that.
And she said, I love myself again. I'm drawing healthier boundaries with family members. I'm learning she's an entrepreneur. She's launched a new business. She's a new grandma with 3 little grandbabies, and she takes care of them part-time. She's just amazing. And so when I see someone like Julie and I hear the stories, I realize that we're all on journeys of just loving ourselves more and finding out who we really are.
Then you can give more to others, right?
Yes.
When you don't love yourself and when you're not taking time to take care of yourself, then you're not giving your best self to the people that are around you.
Yes.
And not to shame anyone in that. We all get caught up in caring for others, doing for others, working the job. This week has been a very full week. And we were both talking about how she and I can get lost in the hustle culture of loving what we do so much that we go all into that and then neglect relationships. Very similar to where you were when you were at that burnout phase, when you stopped and you re-examined and got back to who you were. And I just think that as women, it's very easy for us to fall into that. And I love that the work that you do invites us to come out of that so that we can give more to others.
Yes.
By finding you were able to give so much to all of these other women that you're impacting now.
Totally.
So what's next? You're still doing the retreats.
Yes. My sister and I launched a sort of 2.0 level retreat called the Transform Summit last year. We just had our 3rd Transform Summit. So the Transform Summit is toes in the sand on steroids. Okay, not literally, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like, it is
amplified.
It is
elevated.
Thank you. That's probably a better way to say that, because we don't do steroids. But it is a deeper transformational retreat. And so what's next? My sister and I are doing something for the very first time. We are co-hosting a one-day workshop for entrepreneurs and leaders right here in Tyler, Texas, coming on Thursday, January 30th, and it's called Thrive in 25. January, everyone's going to have that holiday brain fog that's going to need to settle a little bit and get some decorations put away and restart with job, career, business. Okay, where was I, a few weeks ago before all this hit? And then I'd like to invite ladies to consider joining us at Keepersall Vineyards, which is, I like to say, it is my happy place in East Texas. I love the family that owns it, the culture, the spirit, the peacefulness. And we've got one of the venues there on the vineyard grounds called Salt Kitchen. It holds 45 women max. So it will fill, but it will be an amazing one-day event where, again, we're going to do some of that deeper inner work. We're going to look at topics like, what is a limiting belief and what is an empowering belief? And if you've got this belief that keeps cropping up and wreaking havoc in your life, whether it's a health issue, a relationship, I keep attracting people that are toxic people. Why do I keep returning to habits that aren't healthy? Or why do I, why every year do I set these huge goals for my business and then the year goes by and doggone it, I get to the end of the year and I'm right back. I haven't moved from last year. So there are, ladies, there are reasons deeper than what you are doing that lie inside our minds, our subconscious minds. And that's where my sister's expertise comes in. And we're going to teach how to shift those to empowered beliefs. We're going to have a session on goals versus intentions and really get clarity on 2025. What is your intention for the year? And guide you through a workshop style day of getting real clear on who you are, what you desire for yourself and your life. It's going to be amazing. And then Mandee, following that, we're offering, I'm going to call it kind of a VIP exclusive upgrade. We're having a retreat at Keepersall at the B&B for around 10 to 12 women who want to deepen their experience, lengthen their experience, and really tap into that rest, that stillness, that time of self-awareness and processing, giving themselves that extra couple of days right there in the peaceful, soulful vineyard. So,
which I think, and I don't want to interrupt you, I just want to
go
expand on that for a moment, because I think that's a piece that a lot of people miss after a workshop. I think you can go to a workshop and you can get a lot done. I think yours is from 9 to 4. You can get a lot done during that time.
Yes.
You can fill in some blanks, but if you don't pause afterwards and reflect and make a plan for how you're going to implement the things that you just learned and processed and all, you may or may not get into action, right? And so I think that there's so much value in taking advantage of those extra 2 days to just be still and let all of that wash over you, all of the work that you've just done, and let it resonate so that you can really feel it and move into it afterwards. I just think so often I see people get into workshops or do something, they go and they're excited.
yes.
And then they don't take that time. And I love that you've included this option.
We are so excited about this. Thank you for saying that. You just hit the nail on the head with our intention for that extended time with women. When you get into a smaller, intimate group, when you can really have those deeper conversations, when you can step out for an hour or two and go sit somewhere in silence and grab the journal and think about some of the questions that we're going to ask women to really ponder and go deeper into that. I call it inner soul work. It's inner, it's work, it's tapping into the deeper, desires of our hearts, the dreams. Mandee, so many of us, I would say my really ideal market that I speak to and mentor and coach is the midlife woman. So the 40s to the 60s. Now you're way younger than me. So you may not,
No, I'm 41.
Okay.
I'm in your market.
I think you're the younger end of it. We have so often given ourselves away to so many people and things over the years. And it really takes some pausing and reflecting to allow those dreams, those goals, those desires to come up. There's things that we wanted to be as little girls or teenagers that life started to happen and we pushed those down and blocked them out and said, I'll never be that. Or someone put that idea down and a teacher discouraged it or something stuck that caused you to give up on something. And I love it when women take time to allow this beautiful depth of their spirit, their desires to start bubbling back up again.
Yes.
Because that, my friends, is how you live a life that lights your soul. It's literally living from the soul. It's living from within and taking inspired action, like you said.
Well, how do we take inspired action? How do we get signed up?
My gosh.
Will you tell me and then let me include it in the show notes so people can just click a link?
Yes, I would be thrilled to.
Okay.
We have my new website's been kind of under construction, but we're launching it. And there's a landing page that gives all about it called the Thrive in 25 workshop. We can drop that link below. Mandee, I would love to share my email address.
Please do.
And any way that a woman that maybe has heard this and resonates or has questions or wants to connect, I'd love to invite them to connect. I'd love to set up, I have something called a 30-minute virtual coffee chat. And if they wanted to get online or even meet up in Tyler if they're local, I'd love to visit and get to know women. I love to hear stories. I love to hear what's coming up for them, maybe where they feel a little stuck and how we might help them navigate around and through that so that they can start really living the life that they were created to live.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, yes, we will absolutely put that in the show notes so that people can connect with you, because it is such a joy. I have the pleasure of spending time face-to-face with Lisa. You're getting to listen to her, but she's truly a joy, and I would love for as many to connect with you as possible. So we'll include that. And please, will you come back in the future and share some more about how to live life on purpose and how to thrive in midlife and just be your best self, because you have so much to offer. I would love for you to come back and visit again.
This has been so fun to be a guest on your podcast, and thank you for inviting me, and I would love to come back.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story or the story of an incredible woman you know. Become part of the conversation on social media. Facebook.com/Celebrating Women Podcast. On Instagram, search Celebrating Women Podcast. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center or online at handandstonetyler.com. Support the show for as little as $3 per month at celebratingwomenpodcast.buzzsprout.com or visit our show notes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.
Hey guys, it's Mandee. Have you been struggling to lose those extra pounds? Oh, I know. I have totally been there. An extra, 15 to 20 pounds can totally creep up on you in perimenopause. Or at least it has with me. And I think I found it early. I hope it's not happening to you. But if it is, I've got the solution. You can lose up to 15 pounds in 8 days with an incredible product line that I found and I want to share with you. Get a custom product recommendation with a complimentary wellness screening in the show notes. Just click Zing with Mandee.